Do gemstones really work? Can they actually change someone's fate? What's the difference between gem therapy and crystal healing? And is gem therapy really that expensive? Now here's something that I haven't revealed in any of my previous videos. I didn't start learning about gem therapy through astrology. I learned astrology because I wanted to try gem therapy. You see, I was very ill for a very long time, and the only thing that was able to make me better was gemstones. That is the reason why I started practicing medical astrology. So this should answer your question. Yes, gems do work. Now you will notice that I wear gemstones in some of my videos. However, it won't be always the same gemstones, because sometimes I do experiments and try to use different gemstones and different gem combinations to see how they affect me. The reason for that is that I basically use myself as a guinea pig to see how certain gemstone combinations work and what are the effects. Now, as to gemstones changing someone's destiny, to oversimplify, yes, they can do that, and in fact they can also kill you, as some of the legends from the British Raj will tell you. But more importantly is the mechanism by which they actually do that. You see, one cannot change what's outside without changing what's inside. You can basically say the world as we see it is quite subjective. We don't see it as it is, we see it as we perceive it. That's far from trivial, because what gemstones actually do is change certain parts of your personality. That's the whole reason they are so effective at changing your destiny. They start with changing you. Now, this is not something that is easily noticed until you see people who start wearing a certain gem, changing their musical tastes, their taste in food, in clothes, basically becoming a bit of a different person. And of course, if you become a different person, you have a different destiny. It's a bit like changing your birth chart, because you actually gain or lose certain influences, and this of course changes the outcome. Now, as to the difference between gem therapy and crystal healing, the main difference would be the way each system chooses the appropriate gemstones. And to be honest, if we're talking about modern crystal healing, it's basically the same as going into a pharmacy and choosing the appropriate medicine just by what you feel about the package. That is a good way to end up dead, because you can overdose on things like insulin, morphine, and basically everything else that is there. So no, it's not a very practical system. There are schools of crystal healing that are more organized and are better at utilizing the crystals to actually help someone. And the difference between them and gem therapy is that they use those crystals for a much shorter period of time. Now, that isn't actually a bad thing, but the goals are very different. You can say that this form of crystal healing is like pinpoint therapy instead of something that is prolonged, like wearing glasses. Now, gem therapy itself is very similar to actually wearing glasses, because you are wearing an aid that is supposed to make your life better. More importantly, it is very precise in the way gems are prescribed, because they are not prescribed based on the symptoms or based on feelings. They are prescribed based on the person's birth chart, and each chart is individual. It's not something that can be applied to a group of people. It is personally for you. This of course gives it an advantage over other systems when it comes to dealing with the most serious problems one might encounter. But more importantly, it gives it a huge advantage in terms of actually knowing that it will work. Because if you have a system that is so discriminating, the chances that you will choose the correct solution are far higher. Now, the obvious drawback with gem therapy is the demand for the highest quality gemstones and for mounting them in jewelry, usually made of gold. That is of course quite an expensive proposition, and it is made far more expensive by the insistence on the 9 main gemstones, which are basically the most expensive gemstones of their type. I am of course referring to such things as rubies, natural pearls, emeralds, sapphires, diamonds. These are extremely expensive gemstones. In fact, they are the most expensive of them all. With that being said, the necessity for main gemstones is not universal. You see, most people, in fact 80% of the population, will not need main gems. Let me explain. The best way to find out if someone needs, or in fact can benefit from, the main gemstone and not from a secondary one is by looking at their 5th house and the position of the 5th house lord. Now pay attention, because this is a huge secret that will save you a lot of money if applied correctly. You see, if the 5th house lord is in its own sign or in the exaltation sign, then yes, main gemstones will be better for you. In fact, in certain cases you won't be able to use secondary gems. However, if the 5th lord is debilitated in enemy signs or in neutral signs, or even in friendly signs that are not his own, you can and should use secondary gems. In fact, the main gemstones might hurt you more than they will help. In some cases, you might be so sensitive to the main gemstones that they will cause nothing but pain or suffering. So you should not use main gems if your 5th lord is not in the awake dignity. In other words, in its own or exalted positions. Now, another interesting thing is that if the 5th lord is exalted, one can usually use both the main and the secondary gemstones. But that is the only case that I have noticed where both types of gemstones work on the same individual. Usually, if one tries the inappropriate class of gems, it will lead to some very unpleasant side effects. Now, to clarify, when I say unpleasant side effects, yes, when you use the wrong type of gem or the wrong class of gem, you can expect quite a few bad things to happen, starting from just bad luck and ending up with some serious diseases or accidents. So please be very careful when applying gem therapy. I hope you'll find this video useful. Please like and subscribe, and if you wish to learn more about Hindu gem therapy, please check out the links below. Thank you.